This is the all-new electric Polestar 2, and we're here in trendy Shoreditch to tell you everything you need to know about the car. But before we get started, please make sure that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel because we've got loads of great new videos coming up. And don't forget, walkaround.com is the place to buy and save some money on your next new car. On our website, go to the new car buying section to browse through our list of excellent deals from our trusted dealer network. So let's start with some of the interesting design features on the Polestar 2, and we'll head straight to the first thing that separates this car from Volvo, and that is the badge on the nose of the car. So it's the Polestar logo, and it's shaped to be like a star, and Polestar says it wants to be the guiding star in this electric car revolution, which is a bit corny, but I suppose you've got to put a marketing tagline to things like these. And they've also said that this badge will always be the same colour as whatever the rest of the car is, so you won't ever be able to get a silver or a black contrast badge. It will always be the same colour as what's here. And also, on the front, it has a radar and sensor, but being a Swedish brand, it's made sure that it's always heated, so that even when it's snowing, this won't get clogged up and it will always still work. Moving round, you've got the headlights here, which is a traditional Volvo trait that's been slightly adapted for the Polestar brand. On Volvos, you have a Hammer of Thor design, and for the Polestar 2, you've got a similar thing, but this line here is slightly thinner, and these splitters on the end are more angular in their design as well. And then you've got 84 LED headlights in the front, and they can all turn on and off independently, which means you get adaptive high beam assist as standard. So when you've got your full beams on, the car can sense if you're going to be dazzling other road users, and it will turn off the necessary lights to stop you from doing that, which is great. And it's also worth pointing out that the car we're looking at now is the Polestar 2 Launch Edition. So for the first year of this car's life, this will be the only one that you're able to buy, and it's packed with kit, but we'll talk more about that later. Later on in this car's life, you'll also be able to get a lesser model that doesn't have as much kit, but does have a lower price. Okay, moving further around, the next thing to point out are the wheels, and the first thing you'll notice is that they're massive, because indeed they are, and the smallest ones you can get are 19 inches, and the other option you can have are the 20-inch versions as well. They also have this specific Polestar alloy design as well, which looks pretty cool. I'll also point out the door mirror because it's frameless. So basically that means when you adjust the positioning of it, this whole thing moves rather than just the mirror itself. Is that any more useful or practical than normal door mirrors? I don't know, but it does seem pretty cool and helps it stand out too. I'll also point out this black cladding which goes along the bottom of the car, which they've used to kind of beef up its stance and make it look slightly more powerful on the road. And in a similar vein, you can see the design of these rear windows and this black lining which follows all the way around the car. The designers were saying that they've done that to try and emulate a kind of sun visor on a helmet, kind of like a Daft Punk helmet or something like that. You may also notice that this has a very wide and long window at the back of the car. Now, that's because it's missing a rear quarter light. So normally on a car like the Volvo XC40, there would be a line round about here which separates this rear window. So you've got a front section and a rear section. But on the Polestar 2, they've removed that, and they were saying that this is to help give a better view out for the rear passengers, and also it should improve the driver's over-the-shoulder view too, which is a good thing. And then at the back, instead of a fuel tank, you've got this opening for AC and DC chargers. Now, at the back of the car, you can see the big standout design feature is this massive, great big LED light bar that runs across the whole of the back. So again, it's Volvo inspired. It's got these recognizable headlights, but the Polestar twist is this light bar that wraps all the way around the back, and it's made up of 288 LED lights. So now you've had a look around the outside of the Polestar 2, we want to know what you think. What is the most stylish, best looking electric car on sale? Is it the Polestar 2, Audi e-tron, Jaguar I-Pace, or the Tesla Model 3? Let us know by voting in our poll. But now for the important bit. We're going to talk more about the power of this car and what is powering it exactly. So it gets an electric motor on each axle, which means it's all-wheel drive, and together they produce 402 brake horsepower. Polestar says this car's aiming for a 0 to 62 miles per hour sprint time of 4.7 seconds, which is very quick. It might not quite be Tesla Model 3 performance quick, but still, by electric car terms, that is very rapid indeed. And it gets its power from a 78 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery underneath the floor of the car. And impressively, on the WLTP test cycle, this car managed 311 miles on a full charge, which is very competitive against the likes of the Jaguar I-Pace and the Tesla Model 3. But now let's take a closer look inside the car. So we've seen that the outside is very Volvo inspired in its design, and inside it's kind of a similar story, but again with a bit of a Polestar twist. So you can see these buttons on the steering wheel and these buttons and dials on the center console are recognizable Volvo switchgear. However, the design of it all does feel quite different, especially this center console, which has been raised up in a way that you don't really see on any other Volvos. But it's all still centered around a touchscreen infotainment system with a portrait layout. Now this 11-inch screen and the software inside of it has been created in collaboration with Google. So it means that this runs Android software straight away without having to use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay as an Apple equivalent. So it means straight away this infotainment system has Google Maps, Spotify, without needing to connect your phone to it. Tesla also offers a similar solution, and so now we see a similar thing in the Polestar 2. So it promises some pretty good connectivity and a sat-nav that actually works rather than just a manufacturer's sat-nav that takes you straight through the centre of town at rush hour. Also, there's a good bit of customization available on the home page. So if you go to the home page, similar to a phone, you can drag and move icons into different menus for ease of use. And another thing to point out is that it's good with the placement of this infotainment system screen, because when you're driving, it's within very easy reach, and it's also quite high on the dashboard. So although it's a touchscreen, it's a shame not to have some more physical shortcut buttons. It is at least nice and high and close to the driver. Other things to tell you about the interior, well, you can see the storage on offer is okay. You've got underneath here the central armrest, a relatively small space that's big enough for your phone, and you get another cup holder in there which you can take out. In front of that there's a cup holder behind this gear selector, and down here you've got another tray for your phone, wallet and keys, and either side of the center console you've got these trays as well. And Polestar says that this is a vegan interior, but they're specifically referring to the seats, the gear selector and the steering wheel. So in other words, the places you'd normally expect to see leather, actually they're provided with a vegan material. But if that's not your thing, then you can go for a Napa leather option as an upgrade. So it's an interesting interior to look at, but what's the build quality like? Well, remember that in the electric car class, the bar isn't set that high. We've seen with Teslas, with Jaguars, that the build quality can be a bit so-so, although the Audi e-tron is very well put together, and the Model 3 and the I-Pace are both the best interiors produced by Jaguar and Tesla. In Polestar, it looks nice, and if we give it a bit of a shake, you can see there is a bit of a wobble in the center console, but it's not too bad, and generally the materials do feel very good quality. So in the back you can see that there is plenty of legroom, but the first thing that you notice is actually how high up you sit in the back. So that's probably as a result of the batteries which are stored underneath the floor. We've noticed that certainly on other electric cars, but yeah, it does just feel that you're quite high, especially in relation to the driver, and the result of which is that your head is pressed up against the roof of the car a bit as well. With this panoramic sunroof, you can see that it stops here and then comes down a little bit just where your head is. So it's a shame they couldn't have just pushed this a little further back to allow a bit more headroom, because if you're over 6 foot, you'd probably be a little bit uncomfortable in the back here. But the main plus point is this legroom, which is great. But compared to the I-Pace and the Model 3, headroom does feel a little bit tight. The boot has a simple, boxy shape with some useful underfloor storage, but you can see there's quite a few lumps and bumps in the floor there. There's also a little bit of storage space in the front of the car, but only enough for a bag of shopping or two. Pricing for this launch edition of the new Polestar 2 starts at around £55,000 before you take into account the UK government grant available for electric cars, which is £3,500. That's similar money to a Tesla Model 3 Performance, but cheaper than the Jaguar I-Pace and Audi e-tron. For around £5,000, you can add the Polestar Performance Pack to get upgraded brakes and more sophisticated suspension, along with some other bits. If this all sounds a bit too expensive for you, a cheaper version of the car with less kit should arrive a year after the Polestar 2's initial launch. So it looks as though it has all the key ingredients to put up a very tough fight against the likes of the Tesla Model 3 and Jaguar I-Pace. It will arrive on UK roads next year, but we'll be driving it before then. So make sure you're subscribed to our channel to make sure you can watch that review when we do it. And also, if you've enjoyed this video, please give us a like. And if you have any questions about the car, then leave a comment below. Don't forget, whatcar.com is the place to buy and save some money on your next new car. So on our website, whatcar.com, go to the new car buying section to browse through our list of deals from our trusted dealer network.